Good morning, students. So in today's class we'll be discussing about one more device which is called as a cyclotron, and this device is also an example for a particle accelerator. Okay, it can accelerate the charged particles. See, we have seen one particle accelerator as a Van de Graaff generator in the first chapter. So this is one more particle accelerator which works on the principle of a Lorentz force. Okay, in the presence of electric and magnetic fields, we can increase the energy of a charged particle. Then why do we need these accelerated charged particles? Generally, accelerated charged particles are used for studying nuclear reactions. They are also used for producing radioisotopes. Okay, we know radioisotopes have very good usage in medicine for treatment of various diseases. And apart from that, it is also helpful in inserting these ions into substances, okay, which will change the properties of the substances, and it helps in studying the properties of substances. So let us see how this particle accelerator is going to work. So this accelerator was first designed by two scientists called Lawrence and Livingstone, E.O. Lawrence and M.S. Livingstone. Okay, they have designed the cyclotron in the year 1934. Okay, by making use of the force experienced by a charged particle in the presence of both electric and magnetic fields. So coming to the construction of this device, look at the construction. So the device consists of two metal surfaces, okay, which are in the shape of a D, with a small gap between them. We call them as the metal Ds. Okay, because they are in the shape of a D. And these two metal surfaces are connected to an oscillator. Okay, oscillator is a device which keeps on changing the terminals of these two Ds, D1 and D2, at regular intervals of time. Okay, just like an AC supply. If this is positive and negative for the time being, after half of the time period, it will reverse the terminals of these two Ds. So we are connecting the two Ds to an oscillator whose frequency, I'll call it as F. Then perpendicular to this two Ds, we are going to apply one magnetic field. A uniform magnetic field is applied. Okay, we know dots indicate the magnetic field directed outside the plane of the paper. Okay, now we have two fields. Electric field between the gaps, that means in the gap of the two Ds. We know inside the metal, what is the electric field inside a metal surface? Electric field inside this will always be 0. So there is an electric field in the gap, okay, between this positive and negative. Because I have connected an oscillator, the terminals keep on reversing at a regular intervals of time. So there is an electric field only in the gap between the two Ds. Now close this apparatus in an evacuated chamber. Okay, this is an evacuated chamber so that your charged particle does not get hit by any other particles in this region. So this is the center of the two Ds, where I am going to place a positive charge whose charge is Q, and I will take the mass is equal to 10. Now this is the arrangement, and here you have one deflection plate. Okay, and then there will be an exit for removing a fast moving charged particle. Again I repeat, look at the construction of the cyclotron. It consists of two metal surfaces which are in the shape of a D. Okay, I will shape them. These are the two D-shaped metal surfaces connected to an oscillator whose frequency is F. We know there is no field inside the Ds, but there is an electric field in between them. Since you have connected it to an oscillator, the terminals of these D keep on changing at regular intervals of time. The whole chamber is enclosed in an evacuated chamber so that only charged particle exists in this particular region, and then there is a magnetic field directed outside the plane of the bone. So this is giving you the main arrangement of cyclotron. And now let us see what would happen if you keep a charged particle. So first select the charged particle, and we know, we have studied in magnetic force. When a charged particle is projected in a perpendicular magnetic field, what is the force acting on it equal to? QVB. And this force is responsible for making the particle move in a circular path. So who provides the centripetal force in a perpendicular magnetic field? It is the magnetic force. So from this we know that radius of circular path, is it mv by qb? And we have already studied it in the motion of a charged particle in a perpendicular magnetic field. What is the time period of revolution? 2 pi r by v. When you substitute the value of r, okay, you get it as mv by, okay, 2 pi mv by qb into b. V gets cancelled. What is the time period of revolution? 2 pi m divided by q. And if you know the time period, what will be the frequency of revolution? qb divided by 2 pi m. And remember, after you choose the charged particle, so we know what is the charge and what is the mass of the particle and what is the strength of the magnetic field that you have applied in this cyclotron. So if B is known, Q and M are known, can we calculate the frequency of revolution? So first find out this frequency of revolution. The frequency of oscillator, okay, if I call this as F0, must be equal to the frequency of revolution of the charged particle, which is nothing but QB divided by 2 pi m. So this is the first precaution that you have to take before you begin this cyclotron. Again I repeat, calculate the frequency of revolution of a charged particle. We know it's QB by 2 pi m. Keep the frequency of oscillator same as the frequency of revolution. So only then the cyclotron is going to work properly. So this is the first condition and we call this as resonance condition. Again I repeat, before you start the cyclotron, choose the particle which you have to accelerate, calculate its frequency in a magnetic field, keep the frequency of the oscillator same as the frequency of revolution of the charged particle. This is the basic condition required for making use of this cyclotron. So assume that I have selected the frequency as per my requirement and we have connected it in the circuit. Now let us see how the particle is going to move inside the cyclotron. So start with keeping the charged particle at the center. See, I'll just place the charged particle at the center. So I have assumed that it is a positively charged particle. Switch on the oscillator. See that initially this D is plus and this side is negative. Tell me what would happen to the charged particle if this side is positive and this side is negative. Because of the electric field in the gap, positive charge gets attracted by the negatively charged D and it will move towards the D2, the second plate. That means it's acquiring some velocity due to the electric field. From zero speed, it has acquired a certain speed. So who is going to accelerate the charged particle? It is only the electric field. So because of electric field, speed has increased and the particle quickly went into this D2. And I already told you, there is no electric field inside the metal plate. But there is a magnetic field outside the plane of the bone. Now this particle is going to experience a magnetic force. Identify the direction of the magnetic force. Field is outward, then velocity is horizontal, thumb is pointing out downward. So this particle would move down and take a circular path. We know in the presence of only perpendicular magnetic field, the particle is going to spiral or move in a circular track. But by the time the particle completes a semicircle, we have connected it to an oscillator with the same frequency as the frequency of the charged particle. So by the time the particle completes a semicircle, the two Ds will reverse their terminals. Now this time this will become negative and this will be positive. Now the positively charged particle will jump from D2 to D1. But while moving from D2 to D1, again the speed is increasing because electric field is going to accelerate the charge. When speed increases, according to this relation, mass, magnetic field and Q are constant. If V increases, what happens to radius of circular path also increases. Now it starts moving with a little larger radius. And again by the time it completes a semicircle, oscillator has turned. Speed is again increasing. So what will happen to the charged particle inside the Ds? It will start spiraling. As the radius increases, speed is also increasing. And once it comes towards the deflection plate, okay, it is directed towards the exit plate and it comes out with a very high speed from this exit plate. Again I am repeating the principle, working. Keep the charged particle at the center. Because of the electric field, particle will quickly move towards D2 because it's a positive charge. As it enters the D, there is no electric field here, only magnetic field. In a perpendicular magnetic field, it takes a circular path. By the time it completes a circle, semicircle, terminals are reversed. Okay, because this is an oscillator. After every T by 2 seconds, terminals will change. So after T by 2, capital T by 2 seconds, this is going to reverse the terminals. Then it enters from this plate to this plate. And as it is entering from one plate to another, speed is increasing. If speed increases, radius also will increase. So radius keeps on increasing. The particle is going out round and round in a spiral path. And when it reaches this deflection plate, it will come out with a high speed. So this is how we can increase the speed of a charged particle by making use of cyclotron. And from this relation, tell me what is the velocity of the charged particle. Okay, if I call this as equation 1, what should velocity be? Velocity is QBR divided by M. So the kinetic energy which it comes out, half mv square will be, okay, square this relation, Q square B square R square, 1m gets cancelled, divided by 2m. And if you observe the kinetic energy, Q and M and B are constants. On what factor is the kinetic energy depending? On the radius. Larger the radius of this D, larger will be the kinetic energy. So this is how you can accelerate a charge by making use of cyclotron. Okay, now coming to limitations of cyclotron. See, we have seen that cyclotron can accelerate only charged particles. So the first limitation is only charged particles can be accelerated. Okay, we cannot accelerate neutrons by using this device. Charged particles alone can be accelerated. Now the second limitation is we cannot accelerate electrons. Electrons cannot be accelerated. Okay, let us look into the reason why electrons cannot be accelerated in a cyclotron. So in spite of we knowing that electron is a charged particle. Okay, the reason is, so when you take the mass of electron, okay, we know mass of electron is extremely small. Since the mass is extremely small, so when you insert this electron into a cyclotron, it acquires a very high speed. So as the speed of the cyclotron or electron increases, mass becomes a variable. Okay, we know from Einstein's mass energy equivalence, where m naught is the rest mass of an electron. As speed of the charged particle changes, mass also becomes a variable according to this relation. And since mass is varying according to this particular equation, as electrons are very, very small, they get quickly accelerated to very high speeds comparable with the speed of light. As speed increases, mass becomes a variable. And if mass becomes a variable, I told you when we have designed a cyclotron, what is the first condition? Selecting the frequency of oscillator. What is the frequency of oscillator? Is it QB divided by 2 pi m? If mass of electron becomes variable, frequency also becomes a variable. And once frequency changes, our resonance condition gets violated. Because once we fix an oscillator, we fix a particular frequency for an oscillator. If frequency of the charged particle changes, oscillator frequency also has to change to keep the electron in working mode. So if mass changes, frequency changes, resonance condition fails, and if resonance condition fails, we cannot accelerate the charged particle inside inside a cyclotron. So these are the two limitations of a cyclotron. One is only charged particles can be accelerated. Second, we cannot accelerate electrons because of their very small mass, and this mass becomes a variable.